Episode 119 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode of the Interpretation Station. We're doing something completely different today. There's no chat about politics, hopefully, no wars, no COVID, none of that crap. The Interpretation Station is really making a departure today. For those of you who are fans of the Interpretation Station, you obviously know that I have focused almost exclusively in my episodes on the pedagogical side of interpretation, looking at how we do text and things, how to make you better interpreters. Well, in the course of this, it's now been about 15, 16 months that I've been producing Interpretation Station episodes, I've gradually started to take an interest in what the world looks like outside my cozy, warm little I've taken interest. What do people who live in the real world do? How does it look if you aren't just an international organization or something like that? So I've linked up, connected with many of you over LinkedIn, and it's interesting to see your sort of career trajectories, your career paths, where you're going. And I've decided I came up with this new idea to talk to some of the players in the industry. So be that in the language industry, shall we say. I'm not going to just limit it to interpreters. I'm going to look at interpretation, translation, so on. This is, by the way, an open invite to, by the way, any of you guys, when I do more episodes, and if you'd like to come on and chat with me and give you a chance, in fact, to sort of plug your own businesses. And my first guest, the guy who I'm going to be losing my virginity to in this sense, as an interviewer, I've never really done an interview, you see. It's always been
the first time for everything, right?
The first time. So the man who's going to be plucking my cherry, as we say, is Mr. Philip Braselmann. I trust I've pronounced your name correctly, sir. This
you got
time.
that right.
Okay. I had to do a bit of practice. I was calling him Bra. It's Philip Braselmann.
Yeah, just the S has to be soft. Some people are like Braselmann.
Braselmann.
Yeah, there you go. It's not hard. Just soft S.
Now, Philip he's definitely a mover and a shaker in the localization industry, translation, localization. Do you fall within localization?
Well, translation, localization, there's almost no real difference. Localization is just, you need to have experience within the culture, within that city.
Okay.
But there are always people living there, and you can just look for them and let them help you out,
Okay. Well, Philip is 31 years old. I'm allowed to tell the audience your age?
Yeah, that's great. I'm 31 years old.
31 years old. So Philip's from Germany originally. You have to remind me where in Germany, which city you're from originally?
Remscheid. That's near Wuppertal, where they had the first, what's it called? This railway station that's flying over the river. I don't know the English word for it right now, but that's like the first in the world. It's near Cologne.
Oh, near Cologne. And what was the name of the town you said? What was it? What was it? Your place?
Remscheid.
So Phil, he runs his own fully remote translation agency. His agency is called Thrivefount. Now, Philip says his most important values are discipline and courage. So we'll be talking more about that. And he basically says that he started his agency after he had more clients than he could handle, and he sort of started hiring freelancers for long periods of time. Now, if you follow Phil on LinkedIn, and I advise you to do so, connect with Phil. He's always got some very entertaining motivational posts. They really do sort of stand out from the run of the mill post. Because what I find interesting about Phil's post is, as I say, he could be, if he wasn't a translator, he would probably be a motivational speaker or a self-help.
Many people actually say that.
Is that right?
That's a good observation, yes.
He's like most of the translators that I come across tend to be very they tend to approach the industry from a very academic perspective and angle. What's interesting about Phil is that Phil approaches it more from, well, if you watch the film Wall Street, Gordon Gekko You've watched the film. You know what I'm talking about. No, you never watched Wall Street with Michael Douglas. Oh, it's an old, classic film.
Is it like Wolf of Wall Street?
It's a bit like, yeah, okay, let's say that. Maybe you're a bit younger than me. Maybe that's what. But Wall Street. So anyway, so Phil approaches the whole industry, his whole career from that angle, from a sort of businessman's angle, and it's quite refreshing. It's very interesting, and so that's why I thought it'd be interesting to have Phil up as my first guest on this kind of show. Now, enough of me jabbering on at this point. I want to give the floor, as we say at the UN, to Phil to let him tell you, you viewers, a bit about himself first of all. So, Phil, give us a bit more of your background, how you got into languages, how you got into translation, and then later how you moved from the translation into business, expanding.
Okay, so basically, when I grew up, with 5 to 6 years old, my mom gave me a Super Nintendo. And back then, the games, they were too small. They were like, they had the maximum capacity of 2 megabytes only. 2 megabytes only. So that means only one language. And you were lucky. You were extremely lucky if you had German text with it. There was not enough storage on these discs. So they were in English, and the pronunciation was also in English. So I was stuck at home a lot playing these games. That's not good for a child, would not recommend back then. But actually, nowadays it's pretty good because we're in the digital age, and that gave me plenty of advantages. And one of those advantages is that I speak and write and speak fluent English.
It taught you English. The Nintendo taught you English.
That's correct. And later I listened to the music in English.
That's American, a funny thing, isn't it? That's the one thing, because I don't think British native speakers learn much of any educational value from like computer games and just watching TV. The advantage when you live, I guess, in a foreign country, like especially countries where you have the English shows, and they have just subtitles rather than giving dubbing or whatever, but where you have the subtitles, it actually gives kids a chance to learn a new language, to learn the English. And it's very interesting that you learn your English via Nintendo. Which one? Which Nintendo was it?
It was the Super Nintendo.
Super
don't
Nintendo,
know what was before it, but shortly after the PlayStation came out, and the Nintendo 64.
Right. So that gave you a sort of initial entry point into languages, and then what happened after that?
Well, after that, of course, school came. I continued playing video games, and the internet was, of course, there, and I was more interested in video games, and I started playing multiplayers online, and I read more in English. I spoke more English to communicate with them. It became a necessity. And at some point, when I was 14, 15, my understanding of the English language was so thorough that I changed my windows from German to English. And I realized that all the information on the internet, you find more information in English compared to in German. So it was like perfect. And then from that point on, I was in English classes, and I always got the A+, the 1+, and I didn't even try. So
that's a good thing for learning languages. I've found that one just on a side note, like I've been trying to learn Arabic for some years now, and I find that if you change the settings, like on your phone, to put the instructions into Arabic, it suddenly forces you to know, I've got to know what this stuff means to be able to navigate my way around it. I think when I first did it, I was being a bit ambitious with the Arabic, and that can be dangerous, because I had it in Arabic and I couldn't bloody get out of it. I didn't know enough words at that point to change the settings back into English, and I had a hell of a time trying to get out of the Arabic. But that is a good way, by the way, to learn the language, the everyday language, because those menus, all that sort of stuff. That's like really important vocab to know.
I did read somewhere that Arabic is among the 3 most difficult languages in the world.
It's tough. It's tough to learn. It's the step from being where I can read it really well, but to actually understand it, I find there's such a leap from being able to read it to being able to hear those same words and process it into English.
It looks like hard when you write. They have dots, and
And the writing's not as that bad. I mean, because there's only, well, I don't know, the alphabet's maybe 28, 20. The alphabet's like, I don't know, 28 letters, but each letter, the shape of the letter changes depending if it's at the start of the word, in the middle of the word, or at the end of the word. So you need to learn all three how to sort of do it. But that bit's tough. So then, so you had, so obviously your German native speaker, that's your mother tongue. You got English, and then so what? Then you finish school, and you decide what you want to get a career in language. You want to sort of follow a language path.
Actually, no. Actually, to me personally, and I think it will upset many people hearing this, I find translation extremely boring.
Okay.
I find working out extremely boring. I find waking up at 5 extremely boring, and I find
you do have extraordinary hours. You work
yes.
from 5 in the morning to 8 o'clock. Well, that's okay. So he said, he says he works from 5 till 8. But one thing I will say, so I sent Phil a message yesterday to arrange this meeting, to say, I can't remember what it was exactly, to send me a couple of lines for his introduction. And he did send me his reply to that mail at roughly 20 past, I know it was like 20 past 5 in the morning. So I can actually maybe believe that he really does work from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock, so in the evening. So yeah,
I enjoy it. I enjoy the grind, man.
I can tell.
Yeah, it's like conquering. No, men love to conquer.
So go on then. So you got to so you found translation boring. I mean, did you study it at uni?
Yeah, your question was how I got into this path, the career path, right?
Exactly.
Right. So that's a long story. I tried to shorten it. I didn't want to live my life like everyone else. So I saw my mom going to work, and they say 9 to 5. I work longer than 9 to 5, but you know, the pay is limited. You have to ask your boss, can you take a vacation, and you do the same job at all times, and you have to take a drive to your workplace. And I found it so boring, and I felt like that would be like being a slave. So I was unsure of what I should do. And I took school again, because the last class I took, and I only got, I don't know what the grade is called in English, but I went to school again, I got a better grade. But then I decided, it was funny, I took extra time to get a better grade, right? But then I realized I was working like part-time. I actually received welfare to find a job, and I was like, I still don't want to do this. How can I get out of this rat race? How can I escape this? How? And I was looking online, and I was at Fiverr actually the first couple of years, and I worked.
You were on what?
Fiverr.com.
Okay.
And I also was working I taught kiddos English, prepared them for class here and there, and it was. I looked online, what can I do? And I realized my English, German to English, can you make money from that? And I looked, and I saw a couple of people that make money, and I tried it for 1 to 2 years, and I didn't get above welfare money. It took a lot.
Right.
Because I didn't have the strong discipline,
right,
and courage, because there was also pressure from the German government. They'll be like, hey, we see you make some money, right? But
I remember I went through, I think I was on my brief stint on welfare was about a month or two after I graduated from university. I couldn't get a job. It's not great going to I mean, we call it in Britain the dole office, and you stand in the queue with all the others, and it's all a bit smelly, and it's all a bit sad, and you get I can't remember what it was in Britain, how much you got, like something like £140 for 2 weeks or something. Anyway,
that's not much.
I mean, I was living with my parents, so it wasn't, I wasn't going to be destitute, but it's not great.
Oh, well, you got out of it.
As I say, I if you can always go back to your parents, it's never really that bad. It's just more for yourself. It's just a bit demoralizing. It can be a bit demoralizing. So you were really struggling to motivate yourself to do something sort of.
I thought I was disciplined. You know,
Yeah.
Actually, I was pretty lazy. I didn't like to go to school, so I was avoiding. I was dodging, playing video games and shit. And then at some point, I catch the depression because I didn't want to live this life like the others. So it gave me like a hopeless situation. I was like, where's the hope in my life? It's not going to get better. And of course, the result's going to get depression because you're like, what should I get from life? Most people get depressed, and I did get depressed because I was young. I had no idea about life.
Yeah.
So
that's it. You come out of university, you think you know everything, and then like, shit, I don't really know fuck all.
Yeah. Actually, you're not prepared for anything.
No.
And I was working. You know, I did my 4 hours, and I played the goddamn video games again and so forth. And on the work, and I was just gaming. And full-blown addiction. That was the negative part about it. From when you grow up with the internet, for example, you have these addictive things like social media, video games, and Netflix, and all of that stuff. And
pornography.
Yeah, pornography.
I might edit that bit out. We'll see. Go on.
Well, and all of that stuff. That's the negative part, right? You have to deal with that, and I dealt with that. And I thought I was disciplined when I made enough money, but then the government gave me extra pressure.
Okay.
It's like, hey, do this now. You have to get the full-time job now. You cannot make this money anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Because I was not making more. So I was feeling pressure, and I was like, oh my God, should I now, again, this pressure, should I get a full-time job? Or should I focus more on this? So my effort increased. But compared to the discipline I have nowadays, it's hilarious. I wouldn't even, in my, according to my standards, I wouldn't even have caught that work.
Yeah.
There was 5 to 6 hours of concentration. For many people, that's still impressive because they drive to the work, they work an hour, then they have a 20-minute coffee break, then they work half an hour with half their ass, and coffee break again. 5 to 6 hours of concentrated work, that's hard. But nowadays, I like doing that because at some point I managed to make more money than welfare, and it was my
doing translation.
From translating, translation only.
Okay.
Still today, translation only.
So just German and English.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And
how are you finding? How are you? Because did you study? Did you get some sort of diploma or?
No.
Right.
You don't need that.
Okay.
You don't need that actually. So that's actually what I wanted to say. That once that people have this chase of happiness, they have this predetermined life. Like you go to school, you get a job, you get married, then you stop working and enjoy the millions that you have saved. Right.
That's the theory, anyway.
Yeah. That's what they're thinking. So, but then I achieved a goal. A big goal. I didn't need welfare anymore. I did not need to go to 9 to 5 because the first month I made more than welfare.
So where were you finding your clients on this? What did you call it? Is that on this site? Fiverr. That you were finding all your clients there, right?
Fiverr.com.
Okay.
And I made over 800, and I was like, yeah. That was my moment of happiness.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 seconds longer, and that was it. That's happiness.
Yeah.
And then I was like, shit, now I got to do more. And there's always more. People give up too early. They just have to sit with their problems. Some people say, hey, I can't do something. They give up.
Yeah.
Google, sit with the problem longer. Actually, Albert Einstein said that he's not smarter than other people. He just sits with a problem longer.
Yeah.
You can sit with a problem for weeks and solve it. With research, gather the material, and then get to a solution. That's how Elon Musk builds this rocket. He certainly didn't do research for one day. He probably did this for months and improving until it fucking works. Even the guys at NASA didn't believe it. He just sat with the problem longer than NASA. That's why it worked. And people immediately quit when there's a problem. That's not how you do business, because business is analytical. It's problem solving, especially when you start building an agency or business. It's mostly problem solving. You should eat problems for breakfast. There's gonna be lots of stress. And many people say, oh, I want to be a freelancer. Oh, I want to own a business. Oh, I want to own an agency. Then I ask you, how much stress can you endure? People think that's easy, or that they have worked hard in their life. And I'm asking, some people I've asked, have you ever fallen asleep on your keyboard working? If you haven't fallen asleep on your keyboard, you don't know your benchmark, your limit. You don't know that. Once you know your limit, you know what a lot of pressure is and what low pressure is and what you're capable of in response to, in regards to work, right? Most don't know.
I mean, is that healthy to work from 5 a.m. till 8 p.m? That's a long shift. That is, bloody hell.
That's 15 hours. I don't know. I get my 9 hours of sleep. That's plenty.
Okay.
Say again?
Like you like to work in bursts, you say on your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You'll like do 26, 27 days like that, and then you'll just stop for 4 or 5 days, right?
The thing is, I constantly evolve as a person. The person that I was 1 month ago is basically already dead. One month ago, I was in Szeged. I arrived in Szeged, in Hungary. I'm now in Pécs. I moved, in a foreign country. I don't speak the language. I don't know anyone here.
Yeah.
In that time span, I have learned to rely purely on myself. Don't know anyone. I don't know the fucking language. I don't have any friends here.
So Phil, by the way, Phil actually doesn't live in Germany. He lives in Pécs in Hungary. So any Hungarians out there, this guy, he's around. He's near to you. We'll come to that a bit later. Why he moved to Hungary. At what point did you? Okay, so you were translating. At what point did you sort of take it up to the next level? Because I guess any sort of translator can do that sort of stuff, as in they can get the work as a translator. Okay, but there's that step up when you go to just translating to starting to turn what you do into a business, into sort of outsourcing the work that you get, outsourcing it to other people. And that must be a big step, I'd have thought, because then suddenly you're not just a pure translator. At this point, you become a businessman, right?
You've already said it. I don't need to say anything more.
Well, when did that happen? At what point did you take that step?
That's 8 to 10 months ago.
So pretty recently, okay.
Pretty recently. I could have pulled that off way earlier. Way earlier. But I reached that point when I had obviously more clients than I could handle. I would have to translate, and I did that, no doubt. Yeah. I did translate my 15 hours, and there were days where I made $1,000 per day. Yeah. Most people would say in translation, oh, that's not possible. Yes. And I did that with 1 cent per word rates. People don't work for these rates. I gladly take it. Give me that. It depends on the speed as well. Right. In the speed, if you can translate 10,000 words for 1 cent rate in an hour, you make $100 per hour.
Okay, here I'm gonna have to show my ignorance, right? So I mean, I have actually I did at one point work as a translator between 2006, 2009, when I was living in Serbia. I was sort of doing all sorts of stuff. I was doing a bit of teaching, and then I was getting work translating. I was getting work proofreading. So I remember I was working for UNICEF. Whenever the Serbian government had reports to do and translate them into English, I would be like doing the proofreading. That was a nice little gig while it lasted. And as I said, I was doing like via pros.com, I was getting translation work. But back then, so the 2008, 2009, you were just doing it, okay, on your computer, just going word for word, etc. So nowadays, I understand that most people with translation, a lot of it is just you throw the text into DeepL. Is this right? And then after you throw it into DeepL, then you sort of rearrange it and start fine-tuning it, sort of calibrating it to the sort of style and content that you need. Is that right? Or Am I?
That's correct. That's correct. And many people would disagree with that. They say it will be of low quality. They use things like mem source where you go through each sentence and do that, and they have the commas and the apostrophes. And if this is not the right term, the translation is bad. That's most translators' argument, by the way, because they have to elevate themselves from the competition, right? So they're like, yeah, do this, I'm niche that. So they have to specialize, and they show that with the post. So they're more picky. But like I said, translation is translation. But
I mean, it seems fair enough. I mean, I can get how some people would think it's cheating, but I can also see how it's maybe a reality that, okay, you slam out whatever DeepL gives you, and then you work on that, you adjust what's given, you make it into nice sounding prose that you would have anyway. It's just quicker. So, I mean,
yeah, why should I translate the bulk of the text which a 6-year-old could translate? Why should I type that out? Why should I make that effort when the software can do that and then do the rest, which requires specialization and real understanding, right? And I don't even translate anymore. I have an agency. I don't translate actively. I haven't touched the translation in 6 months.
So who does? So this is where you outsource everything. So you get this work from your clients, and then you outsource it via via Upwork, or how do you do it? How do you outsource what you receive?
So I go to Upwork, and I know the freelancer side, the agency side, and the client side. So the difference between the freelancer and the client side is when you're a client, of course, you post a job description, and you have to post a nice job description with what do you want, and do not be vague. Metrics, for example, we want 2,000 words of German to English technical engine translation, and manual certain deliverable with this deadline. That would be a project based, but then the freelancer would know exactly what it is. So when I post my job description, I write the metrics down exactly, also the characteristics, what I'm looking for. People call this culture. Culture is when the values, they overlap with the team that you currently have. For example, when I say open-minded, what I want in my team is people that are open-minded, that can listen to viewpoints they don't necessarily agree with, but they will listen to them, and if the argument makes sense to them, they will change their viewpoint. That's extremely important for me, because I think that if you're not open-minded, you're stubborn and you don't learn. You're not coachable if you're not open-minded. So that's something I look out for and write into that job description. Then I set the price, of course, and I let them know the time when they work. Then I get the proposals from the freelancers, and I can see the proposals from all of them. In the last 2 years, I spent over 20,000 for outsourcing, and I've seen over 1,000 proposals. So that's why I also know how to write proposals, how to do an agency, because I know both sides inside out, the client and freelancer side, and how to manage this, because I'm doing it for so long, right? And then you have, let's say, for virtual assistants, right? Virtual assistant helps me to find clients.
Okay, so a virtual assistant is like your sort of secretary or something?
The thing is with virtual assistants is that you can teach them anything. They are multi-talents. I love virtual assistants. They're awesome. You just need to tell them how to do it. They will do it. They're open-minded. They're great people. And then you can tell them how to write the proposals. I teach them that. Then they do that. You know.
All right.
They get the clients, not only on Upwork, but also on other platforms.
Yeah.
Fiverr, LinkedIn. You look up agencies online. There are many places. Many translators also don't know. An Amazon store, successful Amazon store. You look up on Google, for example, you have Audi, like a popular car brand, right? And they sell certain parts. I think actually it's a German company. I'm not sure yet. So do they have the text in English? It's a bad example, but do they have English text on Amazon? If they don't, they get a message from us. That's also how you can find clients. And then I interview them. And by the way, interviews can make the best interviews with the best questions. Doesn't mean shit. People lie. But you can find out liars with a specific question. And I have that and I have that from Elon Musk. That's not mine. It
Uh-huh.
says, ask them how they solved the problem. Someone that is lying will give you a vague answer. Someone that is not lying will immediately give you the details.
A specific sort of they'll give you a specific example that they run into rather than a sort of botched, vague, blurry reply. You mean? Yeah. Okay. Now, what do you think? What are people doing wrong then? Because I mean, I've got it. So I imagine most people, most translators, most interpreters, they're more, from my experience, more academic, as I say. They're more academically oriented than business oriented, and I can see it must be difficult to move from just being academically oriented, if you want to take things to the next level, to try and suddenly become a businessman as well. I mean, I've tried to be a businessman. I remember when I was again, like in my mid-20s, I was selling gas and electricity door to door at one point. That was a job I had after graduating. I was a door-to-door salesman for about a year, and another
requires guts.
And I was working another year and a half. I was selling advertising space in a magazine, an architectural magazine, right. And I fucking hated it. I hated it. I
can't believe that. Yeah.
Knocking on the door and just saying the same spiel. I worked for Npower. If anyone's in Britain, so do you remember? So they opened up all the gas and electricity industry, and you had all these cowboy firms going around knocking on people's doors. I was Npower, and oh man, some of the stuff that I would say, it makes me just cringe. No one knew Npower at the time, and Npower had some vague connection at some point with Texaco, some very vague connection. Because people obviously knew who Texaco was. So I would throw in Texaco. We're from Npower, Texaco. Because, Texaco, no Tex. Oh my God, I was embarrassed.
It requires discipline and courage.
So how would you advise? So, I mean, if a sort of translator or interpreter wants to then go into actually starting his own business, what should he do to make himself more of a salesman?
So you're saying when a translator starts a business,
yeah,
that already implies that they have enough clients.
Okay. Right.
From the legal perspective.
Okay, then there's a sort of already a critical mass of clients. Okay, then okay.
Because what's business? Business is when multiple people create profit. That's business in a nutshell. So as long as you work alone, you're a freelancer or self-employed. The law in regards to that is a bit twisted, and I don't like to talk about the legal aspect. I'm not a lawyer. I'm also not an accountant. So the legal side, I'm not very wise or smart in regards to that. And you don't need to be. Many people make that mistake. Oh, the law have to enter make it official there and
right. This is okay.
You don't need to do that. First, make sure that you have a business, that you have income. If you don't have an income, you don't need to enter a business. Why should you enter a business into the business dictionary, whatever?
Yes.
If you make no income, it's not a business. Government would just laugh at you. What are you doing there?
Okay, you just continue to operate as a sort of individual.
That's correct. I was just going off-road with that, off-topic with that legal stuff, just as a side note. But you said if a translator wants to become a business. So if you want to do a business, you need more clients than you can handle alone. Then you need to employ someone full-time with a legal contract for a year or two, certain conditions in a contract. And then before that, actually, you, of course, need to register your business. Then you get this long-term employee with a contract. Then you're a business. That's how it works.
Okay. What do you do?
The question, rather, is how to get all of these clients. That's what most people suffer with. That's what most translators, that's what most freelancers suffer.
Okay, so what's your advice there? How do they get that critical mass of clients that will allow them to take that sort of next step?
Well, that's a pretty generalized advice, but that's where I see most failing, and it's the reason most of them are failing. because all the info is basically on the web, right? The problem is you have to search there to gather all the info. Then you have to do trial and error, which costs money, costs time. So if you want to do this faster, getting all these clients, creating a business, then write me, I coach. All right, so I'm pulling the plug here, putting the plug on. Right?
Plug time.
With coach, you save time and money. Do that. I wish 9 years ago I had the fucking coach. I was smart enough
so if
to do that.
you guys, if you're watching, you're thinking about trying to get into that. If you want to, you're translating and business is going well, but you're reaching sort of a point where you can't handle everything that's coming in. Maybe you should give Phil a call.
Right. Or if you're just starting out as a freelancer in general. Like I know this inside out.
Or even if you're starting out. Okay.
Yeah, so much about that. So how to get the clients? Like I said, it's you have all this info on the web. So you enter it into Google, how to get clients. There's this info, that info. You go to my profile. There are slides, there are posts, there are videos. How to get the clients. But the problem is, and that's what most people in society have a problem with. Over 99% actually have a problem with this. That's discipline and courage. They are simply not working hard enough. The info is all there. The people, they might learn it, right? But the people have a problem to go from the planning phase into the execution phase. The execution phase is where you face all the pain, all the frustration and boredom, because you have to wake up, you have to put the goddamn work in and make it happen. You have to write these proposals, right? If you don't write proposals, how are you going to get more clients? There's no secret to this. There's no secret to discipline. Discipline is, next to courage, the second most important value to me. But without courage, you will never start the path of a freelancer to business. It all requires courage. So courage is the most important. After that, discipline, because without discipline, you rely on motivation, and motivation fades. So they need discipline and courage, and I can give advice in regards to that, and that will help. But are they courageous enough to execute it?
Now, here's a question I've got. How do you audit the work? Okay, because you got all these people working on your behalf now. You've reached that stage where you're outsourcing the work to other people, to contract, to freelancers. How do you ensure that the quality of the work that they're providing is up to standard? And I'm interested to know this, how agencies kind of can guarantee
They're translators themselves. They're translators themselves, and they do quality checks.
Will you check the text yourselves, the end product yourself?
No, I won't.
No, you won't.
No,
okay.
I won't. I trust them. And secondly, I also see what the clients say.
Okay.
And I have so many clients. I have to tell my translator that I currently have, he does a fucking good job. I don't need to do quality control.
Okay.
I don't, because if people screw up, I talk with them the second time I won't talk with them. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so they sort of police themselves, if you like. Okay.
Right, they get the autonomy for that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to watch over the goddamn shoulders.
And the satisfaction or otherwise of the client tells you whether or not that your guys are whether they're doing a good job or not.
And that's correct. And I tell my translator, dude, if I don't get twice the amount of complaints this month, then you're doing a bad job. Because I have a very unique problem. I think most agencies and businesses don't have that problem. This guy is doing such a good job that we're losing money.
Okay, that sounds terrible. Why? How does that work then?
He is going word for word. He wants, like most people on LinkedIn, they say, oh, you owe it to the client to be 100% correct. There's no room for human error. So they really take their time and everything, right? But it's a business. If there's a couple of errors in, it doesn't matter. You still understand the text correctly. And you have to also consider the price they pay you. For 1 or 2 cents per word, demanding 100% accuracy still doesn't work, even if there was $1 in it. Because there's human error, right? And this guy was spending too much time on it. It was too good. I had almost no complaints.
What do you care? What do you care? What's that? Why do you care about that? How?
What do you mean?
Why does that matter to you? How meticulous he's being? That's his problem. If he's doing, if it's good, it's good. I mean, what's?
No, I actually don't place importance on him being a perfectionist. That's the problem for me, because him being a perfectionist cuts our income very, very much.
Because how do you pay them?
Way higher.
Okay.
If you would proofread faster.
Okay, he would be able to get through more material.
Yes, exactly. Okay. It's speed. The most important thing in business is speed. Money that is laying around is not creating value. Saving money, many people, that's the basic strategy. You hear at banks, save or invest or whatever. Money that is laying around is losing value because inflation, that of course it takes a lot of years, even though it goes faster nowadays, but inflation, money loses value depending on the currency.
Yeah.
But it loses money. But for example, you could save, right? I don't know, 1,000 per month. It would still take you 30, 40 years to buy a Lamborghini or a house. Do you want to live frugal like that, make your life extremely boring? When you could instead use that money, let it flow into the right direction, spend money on the right things, and get the Lambo in 5 years or 10 years of extreme effort. Of extreme effort, I mean 16 hours of work per day, dedication and sacrifice.
I guess does it depend also on the kind of material that the person's translating? Because imagine if he's translating like something literary, a book, there you really do need, there's a premium for accuracy, really nice language. Whereas if it's, I don't know, instruction manuals for your Audi R8, it's not, the beauty of the language isn't quite so important.
Of course, it depends what it is.
Now, I think maybe what some of the viewers are also interested to know is, okay, what languages do you operate? What language combinations?
German, English, and English, German.
Purely English and German. So you focus just purely on English and German. Okay. Why is that?
That's because I know that language myself.
Okay.
I could expand into other languages. Yeah. Right? I could do that, but I've not decided on that path. I've decided to do marketing, get more orders in from LinkedIn for the translation, and also to give people the coaching. And that changed from translators to freelancers in general. Okay. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a freelancer, I can help you.
Okay.
That's the thing. I know this inside out. I drink that.
Okay.
Like water.
Okay, what about, so is it purely translation? No interpreters, for example, you wouldn't sort of branch out into that? Is it you want to stay with translators, proofreaders? Or?
I stay with translators, and also my game at the moment is to build up to 10,000 followers. Then I will start building a course to help
10,000 followers on LinkedIn?
Correct.
Okay.
On LinkedIn.
How many have you got at the moment?
I got 650. I think last time I looked.
Okay, so you're relatively new to it then, huh? Or?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But I haven't missed a day of posting.
Well,
that's 3 months already.
Well, anyone who's watching, make sure you connect with Phil. Hopefully, I've got quite a lot of LinkedIn. I'm doing all right. I've got 9,000 or something like that. So go and find Philip. Go find Philip. Although I don't have that many. I don't know that many people with German. It's not one of my languages. I'm not really an expert in German, but I think I've got quite a lot of people that follow me that certainly have German in their combination. Why did you decide to move to Hungary?
I got two reasons.
Okay, give me those two.
I like Hungary because the climate here is nice. You have lots of sun in Hungary because the land is pretty flat. Hungary is like a flat land. It's very flat, so the sun here is nice. It gets extremely hot in the summer, and the winters are cold. So you have like 4 seasons here. Also, the taxes here are low.
Is that right for doing business, or just generally for income tax and
income tax? Income tax is lower for sure. The VAT is higher, but in general you save around 10 to 15% of taxes.
Right.
And also another reason is, which has to do with my end goal, is to buy property with a nice house on it. And actually, the goal up to that has changed. And I don't know if you're gonna like that idea, or I'm just gonna put it out there. Recently, I thought about renting a villa here in Hungary, and I'm looking to 2 to 3 extremely dedicated people, extremely dedicated, and I mean hardcore. That means 60, 17 hours of work and a combined effort to bring my business up. That's what I'm looking for.
Are you listening? Okay, so listen carefully. Look, Philip is actually offering jobs here to anyone who's kept with us so far.
But that's not a job.
Okay.
That's not a job. They would actually have to bring their own source of income. So they already must make money themselves. Or secondly, I make enough money, right? If I make, let's say with the course at 10,000 followers, I make 30,000 per month. I will rent a villa. I will get 2 to 3 extremely dedicated people there. I will mentor them for free. And they will also live in a villa for free. But what they must do in return is be extremely dedicated to bringing this business up. So I want to focus their energy, right? 3 people is triple the energy that goes in.
No, it does need to be German and English, right? Or is there some? Okay.
Yes. That must correct. That must be fluent.
Okay.
If I would clone myself right now, I would have twice the success, right? So that's my idea behind it. So 2 to 3 extremely dedicated people, and also wake up at 5, business every day, 16, 70, 80 hours. And that's also another thing. So I'm extremely picky in that regard, extremely picky. Sparring every day, fighting every day, sparring every day, working hard every day, extreme dedication and focus on this business. Because I want to be multimillionaire and I want to own land in a villa. I just want that. I decided that for myself. And yeah.
Any budding German English translators? There you go. There's an offer for you.
Hit me up.
Hit Phil up. Hit him up. Okay.
Right. You can contact me on LinkedIn.
Okay, so well, I'm obviously gonna leave all Phil's contact details for you in the description box and so on. Just a couple more questions that I wanted to ask. I was interested on Phil's LinkedIn. There's he quotes an interesting little story. I have to actually find it now. It's about Lisa and Sarah. Is it Lisa and Sarah? He's laughing. He knows what I'm talking about.
Many people like that story. I don't know how I was.
I like it. Let me find it.
That was fun writing. That was really funny.
I think this perhaps sums Phil's attitude up pretty well. Okay, let me just find it. What date? Okay, I found it. No, I don't need. I've got it. Okay. So if you follow Phil, he's got a lot of, as I say, sort of motivational posts on his LinkedIn. But this is an interesting story, and I'm wondering if this is sort of typical of how things work. I'm sure it probably is typical of how things work in the industry. I'll read it very quickly. We've got 2 characters. We have Sarah, Lisa, and actually a third character, the client. Both just started on Upwork. Both have a filled out profile. Both apply to the same job. The client looks for a mix of value and experience. The average bid is $25 per hour. The highest bid is $50 per hour. Lowest bid is $5 per hour. Both have no samples and no completed jobs. Sarah is honest and talks about her lack of experience and the benefits she can deliver. That's why she works at a lower rate to gather feedback. She promises the client to send the money back if she fails. She says she won't fail. Lisa writes about experience and benefits as well, that she's worked for X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C. The client shortlists both as he likes their proposals and profiles the most. The client asks himself why Lisa charges so much with no work done on Upwork yet, why she talks about all the work done with no links to said work. He has the impression that Lisa is arrogant and bullshitting, quite possibly. He decided not to pay an above average rate to someone with no experience in Upwork. So instead, he turns to Sarah, not only because he doesn't like Lisa, but because Sarah is honest, offers an affordable rate and a money-back guarantee. Sarah gets hired and delivers outstanding work. The client had a pleasant work experience with her, saved money, got outstanding work delivered before the deadline, and wrote her a 6-sentence detailed feedback for everyone to see on her profile. 6 months later, Sarah has 5 clients paying her $25 an hour now and finished other fixed price jobs. She gathered outstanding feedback, built a great portfolio, and made $15,000 from nothing in her first 6 months on Upwork. Lisa has got no clients in 4 weeks. Now, this isn't where it finishes. It's quite sweet, because you think maybe at this point we're going to find out 6 months later that Lisa is lost her job, has become a drug addict, and is basically is on her way out. But I'll give Phil positive ending though. Lisa's got okay. She's realized that she first has to gather feedback and build a portfolio to charge a higher rate. Lisa made a mistake, but she's not stupid. She realized her ego was in the way. She lowered her rate to $15, just like Sarah in the beginning, and after 6 weeks of no work, she got her first client. Legendary Lisa is good, but Savvy Sarah is sensational. Be like Savvy Sarah. So you got a happy ending on both counts. Even Lisa realized that she was perhaps a bit perhaps overestimating her own abilities. She was maybe being rather complacent, a bit arrogant, and thinking she could just demand the higher price and get work, and she didn't. So is this something you run into typically then?
I see this typically happening on many people on LinkedIn. I see this happening all the time. And actually,
the sense of entitlement among a lot of people that they think whatever they deserve to get more just on the basis of...
It's more emotional reasoning.
Okay.
It's not very logical, because you have to consider both sides, right? Client and freelance, because the client gives you the money. Why should the client pay you a premium rate if you have no portfolio, you have no website, you're no freelancer marketplace, you have no feedback from clients, and you demand a premium rate? That would be a high risk for a client. That if you think like an investor and you're the business, the freelancer's business, why should I invest in your business? You have nothing, but you want all my cash. Like, I would think you're crazy.
So you have to prove yourself, basically, right?
Yes, not only proof, you need to have, if you demand a premium rate, you need to have proven yourself first before.
You need to have a track record behind you to sort of back up. Yeah.
Exactly.
And do you think a lot of people do that? They think they expect to get much more than they deserve? Are people sort of unaware that with this interconnected world that we live in, that there's now so much more, a such bigger pool in terms of supply of translators, that it's so much easier now to find quality work at much lower cost than it was once upon a time?
Can you ask me that question again?
Do you think some people, okay, so we live in a very interconnected world now, so you can get basically people to work from you in any corner of the world. If they've got your language, it doesn't matter where they live, whether they live in Berlin or whether they live in Mogadishu. If their German and English is good, you can connect with them. And obviously these people who live in these poorer countries, their going rate is going to be a lot lower than people, let's say, who live in the West. But the point is that if the quality of that person can provide in those countries with lower standards of living is good, you're going to go after quality, right? A customer is always going to look for quality. And no, not always. That's what people think, that it's always about quality. Why do you think many people don't even ask a translator? They just use these machines. It's not always about quality. It's also about speed and saving money. A business, it's not only about the income. It's also about lowering the expenses. Okay. There's too much emotional reason. You have to be more analytical. So is the thing to be looking for is the volume, is upping the volume of how much work you're turning out. The speed, it's the business. The purpose of a business is to create profit. Yeah. So you need to take advantage of these tools. You basically, these tools that you talk about. You need to take advantage of every advantage there is. Which other these tools are important? Then you obviously talk about DeepL, and what other ones? There are probably more that I'm not aware of, but I use DeepL, I use Grammarly, right? Obviously, and basically those two are enough for. So don't be arrogant. You shouldn't be arrogant or consider these tools beneath you. You should take advantage of them if they, since they're there. Arrogance has its place. You need to love yourself, right? It just depends if it is based on fact or fiction.
right? But use every advantage that you can get and realize at the end of the day, you have to get paid. You have to make money, you have to live from something.
Okay. All right. Well, that is Phil. Thank you very much, Phil, for being with us. So I want to remind you, as I say, so Phil's agency is called Thrivefount. Have I said it right? Thrivefount?
That's
yes?
correct. Thrivefount.com.
Okay, so I'm going to leave all the links to Phil in the description box below the video. As I say, go and connect with him, particularly if you have got German and English in your combination. And if you're looking to sort of go up, take things to the next level. As I say, Phil's got lots of interesting advice on his LinkedIn. Is that the sort of the media where you are most present, LinkedIn, or is
I'm focusing on LinkedIn.
Okay.
100% LinkedIn.
So not so much Facebook, these other ones, LinkedIn as well.
No.
Yeah,
that's also something people struggle with nowadays. They go there and there and there and there and there and there. They have not established themselves anywhere because they lack focus.
You think it's best to pick one and just stick to that, huh?
Yes. Why do you master that, go to the next.
Why do you think LinkedIn is good for this?
It's business social media.
That's why I focus mainly on LinkedIn. First of all, I fucking hate Facebook. I detest Mark Zuckerberg. That's one reason.
Me too.
I detest him. So I don't want him to get my money.
Yeah.
But also, it's I don't like. Generally, I don't like social networks, but that's the reality. That's the world we live in today. This is how you market your stuff, isn't it? So I kind of figured that with LinkedIn, there is this sort of balance that it is mostly business-like. I mean, I see now it is also turning. There's lots of political views also now moving to LinkedIn.
That's pretty annoying.
That's what I really want to avoid. That I really have no time for people's political views. So I thought the LinkedIn is perhaps the least toxic when it comes to that. That's why I'm on LinkedIn. So you'll find Phil there. So I suggest you go and connect with him. Follow him on. As I say, I'll leave his website up in the description box as well. Thrivefount.com. Did you say? Or
correct?
Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any final words from you, Phil? From sunny Petch. Is it a sunny day today?
Yes. If you want to be successful, be disciplined, be courageous, focus, and don't quit, and you will succeed. There are people who are millionaires selling Q-tips. Who needs Q-tips? They're making millions. What matters is that you get the money from someone out of their hands. That doesn't mean steal, but you provide something they want. And you can use your words to make it more attractive. Sales is highly important. So remember that.
You didn't use the example that Phil gave me a different example last time I spoke to him about successful products, weird products. It wasn't Q-tips. It was whoever it was that invented these stools to put next to the toilet, to raise your legs, to raise your legs when you're sitting on the toilet, to make your
to take a natural dump. Right.
I was looking for a more academic way of expressing that.
I don't have it. I don't have it right now. What they're saying.
This is why it's difficult going from translator to businessman. You see, there you go.
Yeah, they're training, and if you can make millions from that, why can't you make millions from translation or SEO or copywriting or writing or interpretation? Anything, actually anything.
There you go. There you go. All right, Phil, thank you very much for being on the show with me. If any of you guys, I say, if you'd like to get your business agency onto the interpretation station, it's all free. It's all free. I don't charge. I'm not charging Phil to be on this. Interpretation station makes no money. Okay, so if you want to try and you need to be interesting, okay? I don't want you if you're boring. You need to be sort of having interest. You need to have a bit of chat, okay? But I can put you on. I can put you on in the interpreting station. Maybe we can find you some bit of business. With that, guys, keep watching the interpretation station. Following me on LinkedIn. Following me and Phil. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. And all that remains to be said is that. Episode 119 of the Interpretation Station stands adjourned.
Well done.
The train is now leaving the Interpretation Station. We hope you enjoyed your visit